My name is Jolene Mackey. I'm an artist living and working in Kelowna, BC. I am an oil painter. I've actually been working with oil paints for probably about 15 years now. I think I've always been an artist. I've always had some sort of little creative spark that has driven me to get into sketchbooks and play with materials and sort of try to figure out my world by creating visual sort of images. I have an education in fine arts. I went to the Emily Carr University and graduated in 2009. After that, I did a little bit of travel and sort of lived abroad for a little bit. And when I got back to Kelowna, my hometown, I ended up working at Opus Art Supplies, which was the perfect sort of introduction to the arts community back in the Okanagan Valley. And I just grew to love it and really find a place within it. I've been working full-time as an artist oil painter mostly for about 8 years now. My background is very art-centric, but very much also inspired by the world and simple things in the world around me. I think my biggest inspiration is really just simple things and really just sort of observing the world around me and finding fascination in little things. So whether it's, the opening of a leaf or the colors in the sky, it's those little moments that sort of stop you and sort of fill you with inspiration and sort of, the reason that you want to keep going with life, right? It's always those little moments that I like to come back to when I'm in my studio, and whether it's a color combination or sort of the way the shadows feel or whatever it is, it's sort of trying to harness the way a moment feels. I have a wide gamut of art that inspires me, both from, historical and art world references, but then also people who are just, following their creative pursuits and passions in their own way. I always admire that. The Okanagan Valley has always been a huge inspiration for me, just being born and raised in Kelowna, BC. I think that it was always a big part of our life to go out into nature and just the world around us and enjoy it. So, we've always spent time in the mountains and the forests and the lake. And I think that's definitely influenced my art. The painting that I've donated for the event at the Catani House is an 18 by 36 inch oil painting called Ruminate. So this painting is actually a piece that I made in 2018, and it was after a trip that we did hiking in Revelstoke. So it was a really unique trip. We took a helicopter to the top of a mountain and then hiked down. And so that view is of Arrow Lake. And it was just sort of a moment on the hike where you sort of turned a corner and there was a clearing in the forest and there was this beautiful view of Arrow Lake. And so that for me was a moment where I stopped and I, clicked a picture and I was like, wow, like this world is so beautiful around me. And I wanted to capture that moment. So for me, that's sort of where it starts. And then I get into my studio and I try to sort of capture how that feels. So specifically for this event, Splash of Red, I always try to choose a painting that has a splash of red in it. So this one does have red, but also has sort of rainbow colored hills and very, sort of surreal and dreamy kinds of colors. And it also sort of has these shapes that are traveling in the sky that are sort of maybe reminiscent of the movement of the moon or the movement of the earth and sort of how time passes. So for me, it was basically sort of trying to encapsulate that moment that I had when I was on the mountain and I was sort of reflected on, humanity and self and just, being a small little part of this big, beautiful planet. I think that my art and my creative practice are very integral to the life that I live. Seeing other artists, putting themselves out there and doing things that are inspiring absolutely affects and inspires me to keep creating as well. I'm super grateful for places like the Catani House for preserving and maintaining and sharing this creative history. We've got a really diverse creative community in the Okanagan, so it's really important, I think, to maintain and respect it and do things like what the Catani House does with preserving it and sharing it with our community. I think that art is just important to reminding us about why we're human and what the point is of pursuing anything that we're inspired by. I think that art and community are absolutely kind of the core to what our community structure is built upon. So it's really important to, value it.